guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with an age gap recommendations video. I love a good age gap, and I've been finding some where the woman is older, which I also really enjoy, because typically in age gaps you have the older guy and the younger girl, but a couple of these have an older woman, and I'm so excited to share them with you. I haven't done an age gap specific video in a long time, so I'll link my previous ones down below, but I think that they're over a year old because I typically include these in like forbidden romances, but a lot of them end up being forbidden. But I have a lot to share with you, so I'll go ahead and get to my favorite age gap romances. The first one I have to share with you, which you have to read because it's one of my new favorite books of the year, and that is The Pool Boy by Nikki Sloan. Everybody is right about the hype of this book. It is absolutely amazing. Our heroine is like 40, I think. She just got divorced from her husband. He was cheating on her, so now she's just living alone. She works in the music industry, and her pool boy is actually her best friend's son. Her best friend had him pretty young. He's like 22 or something. I don't remember how old he is. He's like early 20s, and she is in her 40s. And so they start a relationship. And if you like a guy who is adamantly in love with the heroine and is just like, I don't care what anybody says, you're mine, this is gonna happen, that is Troy. I loved how he was so into our heroine. It was amazing. Obviously she had her reservations because she's older, he's younger. She's like, what are people gonna say and think? It's my best friend's son, like she's gonna feel like betrayed because of me, and she is nervous about having this relationship with him, but he's not. He's like, it's gonna happen. And there was also a really sweet thing that happens between them as well outside of the romance that I didn't know going in, so that was a fun surprise, so I won't tell you that, but there is more to the story than just the romance, and I really loved it. I loved everything about this book. I flew through it, and it's definitely one of my favorite age gap romances ever. Then we have Twisted Games by Huang. This one I did give 4 stars to, but I thought it was a really great age gap forbidden romance. It's forbidden because he's her bodyguard. She's a princess, and it really reminded me of The Princess Diaries too, so if you love that movie, I think you'll love this book. And he's actually in his 30s and she's in her early 20s, so I think there's like a 10-year age gap between them, and it's obviously taboo because he works for her, and it spans a couple years. So he is her bodyguard for almost 2 years in the beginning, and then it's their romance, and she's into him and he's into her, but they can't really cross that line because of professional boundaries, and she ends up having a lot more responsibilities as a royal, especially moving forward, and that really just puts a lot of pressure on their relationship, and so they really have to work together to figure things out. And I really enjoyed this one. I think it was a really good age gap, but the more taboo aspect of their professional relationship is what makes it more forbidden than their age gap, but there's an age gap in there. So if you like the bodyguard trope, I would recommend this one. I do have a couple historicals on this list. With those historicals, I only chose age gap romances that are like, it's a big deal about their age gap, because a lot of historicals have big age gaps, but it's fine because the guy's usually older and the girl's a little younger, but it's normal in society. These, it makes it taboo. So we have Olivia and the Masked Duke by Calloway. This one is forbidden because he helped save her when she was a little girl, and he's more like a kind of parental older brother figure to her when she's growing up. To him, she is like super into him like from the start because he saved her life, and then she starts falling for him, and she's liked him for a long time, and she's finally, I think she's 18, and she's like, I'm gonna show him I'm a woman now and he's gonna love me. I think she might be a little older than 18. I don't remember how old she is. He had a really rough marriage and he feels very responsible for his wife's death, and so he is still trying to get over what happened there, and so he's like, what is happening with her? She starts trying to seduce him because she's like, I'm grown up now, like look at me like a woman and not as a little girl anymore, and he's like, I don't know what to do because he's really close friends with her dad, and it's fantastic. I really loved it, and she's also wants to be a spy, and he's super overprotective of her, and I really love that, and a hero as well, and so this ended up being such a great book, and I'm excited because I just got sent the arc of book 2 and I can't wait to read it, but this is such a great age gap historical romance. Then there is Forbidden by Sorensen. This one's great because similar to Olivia and the Masked Duke, he was kind of in her life when she was younger, but like not actually. So he was a professional fighter and she was obsessed with him as a young girl, and she would put like his posters in her room and like write that she was going to be married to him. So she was like, he was her celebrity crush as a child, and he was older. So he's like 10 years older than her. So when she was like in her teen years he was like in his 20s. And so now he's the owner of the gym she works at, and she's like, oh crap. And so she's like terrified of being alone with him, and she's super attracted to him, but he also is a widow and he is raising his child, so he's a single dad, and he just has a lot on his plate and he's not fighting anymore. He just wants to do his best for the gym, and it is so precious. She has a lot of kids in her life because her brother is the one who had like basically adopted her and her sisters, and he has kids, and then all three of her sisters are either getting married or have a kid because they had the previous 3 books of the series. This is book 4. It can definitely be read as a standalone, but I really liked her relationship with her family and how there were kids involved, and so she got along really well with his daughter. This book is just so good. You should read it. Then I have one of my favorites by one of my favorite authors, and that is Inked in Lies by Janna Darling. This one is a brother's best friend romance, and there's a huge gap between them though. I think she was like 6 in the beginning and he was 17, so it's an 11-year age gap, and he knew her when she was a child, but he moved away like really soon after like knowing her, like 3 months I want to say after they meet he moves away, but he was still super overprotective of her best friends with her brother, and I cried multiple times in this book. It is so heartbreaking and heart-wrenching and amazing, and he is adamant like, you can do better than me, I'm not good for you, and like does things to hurt her, to try to push her away, until we get to when this book is, when she's like 26 I want to say, and he's 37, and I'm pretty sure there's an 11-year age gap, and then she is finally like, we like each other, and so it takes so long for them to be together, and he is still adamant like, I'm no good for you, you can do so much better than me, but she's like, you've always been the one for me, and I love that trope, and it's just amazing. But like I said, he moved away for a while, and so it's not like weird, he didn't like watch her grow up and like help raise her kind of thing, and she's just been infatuated with him, and it's amazing. I loved it so much. This is an MC romance, by the way. It's Motorcycle Club. So he's in a motorcycle club. That's what the whole series is. I would say you should read them in order, but you really don't have to. I think to get the most out of the books, read them in order, because this is book like 5, but if you really want to, you can read it as a standalone. The other age gap romance I have is The Scandal of It All by Sophie Jordan. This is book 2 in the series. You can read it as a standalone if you want to, but this one, it's her stepson's best friend. But there's only like a 4-year age gap, but it is so taboo during this time period because she is older and she's a widow, so her husband died. There was like a bigger age gap between her and her husband than there is between her and her new love interest, but he is her stepson's best friend, and he is also adamant like, this is gonna happen, and she's like, oh my gosh, but no, like what is my stepson gonna think? He's gonna like hate me and just like feel so betrayed if I am with you, but he's like, I don't care. You're it for me, and it's just amazing. I loved it a lot. This does deal with infertility, so know that going into it, but it was such a fun book. I think Sophie Jordan's books are just so easy to read, and I really like the whole dynamic of an older woman with a younger man, even though he wasn't like a lot younger, but in society standards at the time period, it was definitely taboo. And the last one I have is Tied by Carrie and Cole. This one's book 2 in the series, but you could definitely read it as a standalone. I really didn't like book 1, which is also a huge age gap, but this one I liked. She was like kidnapped and abused for a long time, and she was often kept in this well in the woods, and our hero finds her and saves her, but he has been in a couple accidents and he's really scarred and has a lot of scarring on his face, and he lives in the woods as a recluse. People are like scared of him, and they at first think that he's the one who kidnapped her when they find it, but she's like, no, he rescued me. And so we have, I think, a couple years go by and they get reconnected because she's always felt safe with him. She was like kidnapped for like 10 years, and so she finds him in the woods and they reconnect, and it's so sweet. They're just two people who are really broken and trying to find a way to live life again, and they really connect with one another. And he is quite a bit older than her, because I'm pretty sure, I don't remember the age gap, I think it might be like 8 years or something, but it was so good. I really enjoyed it. It was just such a sweet romance, and I really liked watching them learn to love each other, let each other in, and learn how to let go of their pasts and be happy with each other, and it was just really great. And those are my favorite age gap romances. Let me know down below if you have any more for me. I would love to hear. This is one of my favorite tropes. I love when there's an age gap, and if you have any older woman, younger man, let me know. I would love to try those. I know the rest of the books in the Nikki Sloan series have age gaps, both the first and third book. I just read the second book as a standalone, but I'm excited to get to those. But yeah, that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.